Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys, girls. Welcome to Tales with TR. I'm your host, Terry Ryan Jr., and I've been away. Thank you, Saskatoon, for a great time. And before I start, I always forget to say this, but guys, if you want to book me for an event, if you want some merchandise, if you want a book, if you want anything or to be updated on what's going on in my world, go to terryryan.ca. A lot of people ask me about books and signed books and personalized books. So I've hired a local company to help me out with that stuff. So if you guys order a book from that website, it doesn't have to go through ECW or Flanker Press, the two publishers for my books 1 and 2. Not that I don't love dealing with them, but this way I can go out and sign it for you. So if you want a book and you want it personalized, not just signed, just let me know. I'll go out. That's why I charge, I think it's an extra $10 or something. Trust me, no one's getting rich from selling books. I think I sell them for 34. I buy them myself, right, and just send them out. So I go drive out, personalize it. I figured that's worth $10, and then we'll ship it out to you. There you go. Thank you, Saskatoon. What a time. Myself, Brian Scrudlin, Darren McCarty, Lindsay Carson, Dougie Gilmore, Jeremy Roenick, Andre Hua. Just a fucking fantastic time. Mike Sillinger. We raised a lot of money for the Heart and Stroke Foundation. We had an awesome time. And shout out to Carla. Shout out. Just wait. Jill. Shout out Mikey and Darren. Thank you very much. I told you guys I'd mention you. And thanks for listening to the pod. Thanks for treating us well. Now, here's what we're going to do. So, usually this is my B episode. I told you guys I record 2 a week, an A and a B. So this one should have been recorded last week. I left it a little bit late and then had to go to Saskatoon. And what I recorded was pure shit, to be honest. So for that reason, I figured I'd just do it today. I'm going to do 3 today. This is 260B. Right after this, I'm doing 261A and B. And that will feature Derek Roy, longtime NHLer, great hockey player, played for Team Canada, played 4 years in Kitchener, was a fucking rock star in the O, captain of his team, MVP of the Memorial Cup, I believe. I know they won the Memorial Cup, then played a decade, slightly more in the NHL, mostly for Buffalo, has some legendary stories. And just fantastic statistics. And I met him at a few of these alumni events. And he's doing a lot. He's involved in real estate a little bit now in Ontario. And does a lot of these events. I met him a couple times over the past year in the Shoresy games. We played Buffalo, their alumni team. We also did a Gordie Howe Pro-Am Golf Classic for cancer research. So D. Roy, he's a fucking awesome guy. And I needed a guest, and he agreed to come on. So I'm just getting settled now back in St. John's, back in Mount Pearl, actually, Newfoundland. I'll be here most of the summer, but I do have events. So tune into Terry Ryan 2020 for the most part on Instagram. That's what I update the most. And the next trip coming would be July 1st and 2nd. Yeah, I'm in Barrie for a golf tournament with Jackson Events, another fundraiser. So I'm really looking forward to that. Now, 1-8 out there, and we're in the middle of the Stanley Cup playoffs. So I'm aware of that, but I've had this question. There is a girl out there, and her name is Carla, not the one I just mentioned from Saskatoon, but I've promised her I'd answer this question. Her favorite, she wants to know, what my favorite creepy song of all time is. And she said, not Halloween, just creepy. So I know what she's talking about, not one that's probably advertised like Michael Jackson's Thriller or Monster Mash or something that's creepy. Now, she's a big 70s rock fan. I met her on my travels, and I realized that she's emailed me a couple of times. Sorry for you guys that I don't get to every question. Go through Twitter. It's probably the easiest because I barely check that. I do look at the messages. A lot of you message me on there for the show. So anyway, she wanted to know that question. So I'll tell you this. I've always thought, I used to listen to my dad's records. He'd be playing senior hockey, and he'd let me and Jeremy Charles, Gary Clark, Steve Kwan, Mike Smith, Paul Carey usually one of the boys who were probably with me, Gus Gibbons, Steve Halfyard. There's a few actually. Anybody who's on my minor hockey, my minor baseball, soccer teams, we'd oftentimes spill down to my house and my parents' house, which is still there, and I don't live far. And our house is at the bottom of Mount Pearl, one of the first houses in Mount Pearl. To give you perspective, Mount Pearl's about 30 or 40,000 people. But my mom and dad's house is on a river. It's kind of wooded in now. It's grown in with plants and trees and things, of course. But they're part of the river. You can barely see it. It's still there, but it's for those locals, it's the river that goes through Bowring Park. And there's two little streams that come into a river. I live on one part of the stream, my parents on the other. For context, I'm about 3 or 4 minute walk up the road on the same river. And my mom's father, Bill Bucky Norris, who was on the HMS Bulldog, look it up. It's a pivotal moment in the war, Second World War, turning the tides for our side. So he built them a house. They lived down in St. John's on the south side, as they call it. And we're from a family of largely fishermen. Like I said, my pop was in the war, came back and did odd jobs, really. But moved into Mount Pearl. At that time, it was a bit of a summer getaway. Kind of like, again, if those of you that are from St. John's, Mount Pearl, not everybody realizes this, but if you look at our part in Lower Mount Pearl, like down by Dodge City, kind of thing, the experimental farm is in our backyard, basically, right? The old train track, which is now a path, goes right by the back of not only my parents' house but my house, just up the road. So that's where we live. So that was one of the first like 5 or 6 houses in Mount Pearl, and the reason was, the land was cheap. And it wasn't really that far for me to get to Signal Hill, which is like the end, or for, like downtown, say St. John's, which is right on the water there. It's honestly, I got my electric bike. I'll go out today, ride down. It probably takes 20 minutes to ride your bike, to drive down 15 minutes. So it's not really that far away. And so when they came in, the cheap land on the river, a lot of cottage style homes, but as it grew, and in the 60s and 70s really grew a lot, and there became basically just houses and subdivisions as far as you could kind of see. Put it this way, we used to joke that there's no elevator in Mount Pearl, and for the longest time there wasn't. Even now, there's not many. In other words, it's not a place with big buildings. It's neighborhoods and sports facilities. There's a little strip, fast food restaurants, couple of bars. Small town Canada. But 30, 40,000 people now. So so the point is, I guess, I'm just giving you a bit of a description, some imagery to go with the story. So I live right at my house would be the last stop before St. John's. So if anybody came down, they came down to my place. We'd play road hockey. Actually, more of that went on up there because all the boys lived. Not many people lived down by me. So if you came down, I guess we'd come down. Road hockey, we'd shoot. I always had a net there. Maybe take some shots on the shooter tutor. But music was always a part of it because my dad had so many albums and he was often playing them. Well, every day, even right now, he still plays them. And music now, my dad will be on YouTube or CDs, whatever. Just the basement in our house, there's a lot of music being played every single day. Especially back then when he was coaching teams and stuff, right? And a lot of buddies were dropping in. So, and he'd let us mix up the tunes, play the records. So I got into this band. I got into 70s classic rock after the Beatles and everything. I mean, I guess it's the next natural progression. And this was the fucking late 80s, early 90s. So we weren't far removed from, classic rock, you're kind of still in classic rock. A lot of classic rock, which is considered classic now, was about to come, being the grunge movement, Nirvana, Pearl Jam. I guess I could go Green Day. I could go down the list of how many bands now you'd hear on a classic rock channel that weren't even around then. So I guess we were in that time. But anyway, there was this song by the Blue Oyster Cult. And in the mid-90s, it gained notoriety because it's the cowbell song on Saturday Night Live, okay? And, that's a funny skit. It's one of the funniest skits ever, right? Will Ferrell, Christopher Walken. So, yeah, it became kind of iconic because of that. But before that, so that song was written by their lead guitarist, the Blue Oyster Cult, Donald Reser or Roser. I've only read it, and I'm looking now. Roeser. It's not like these guys were huge. Like, not like everybody knows every member of the band. Like they didn't get big as far as classic rock in the '70s, like Kiss, or Boston, or any number of bands, classic rock bands. The Who. There's a lot of bands that people are into, that they know. Guns N' Roses. You know everybody's name in the band. You follow along. Blue Oyster Cult are pretty big, man. My favorite by them, Burn Out the Day, Burnin' For You is my favorite. They had a bunch of hits, but their 76 album, Agents of Fortune, okay, this song is on. If you take away, just try to remove, most people I'm talking to know it for the cowbell reason. Just take that out of it. Now listen to it. If you can, go somewhere, turn off the lights, at least close your eyes. Maybe on a long drive that there's no stoplights and no distractions. Throw this song on. Okay. Now, when you listen to the lyrics in the song, it's based on a newspaper article that came out in the mid 70s that this dude read, or maybe some other member of the Blue Oyster Cult. I forget. They played when I played in Boise, Idaho. Would have been 90, or it would have been 2001, 2002. These guys played the Super Bowl party, and I'd heard this part of the story, and I asked them. Now, I don't believe, because there was people everywhere, but I don't believe it was Mr. What's his name, Mr. Don Rezer, that I spoke to. So I'm paraphrasing one of the band members. They were all there. I just didn't know what this guy looked like. I was overwhelmed. I didn't expect to meet them. So when I sat down, I asked this question first. They said, "I'll probably never see you guys again." And they laughed and said, "Well, it wasn't directly based on that. It was definitely inspired by that and Romeo and Juliet, the famous William Shakespeare tragedy. Spoiler alert. Anyway, so the song, though, the way it's written, it's from a perspective of the guy that's trying to convince the girl to kill themselves. It's about romance, love, and the inevitability of death. I remember, and I just looked it up as well, like, he had an interview with Rolling Stone, and he tried to stress. He said, "I'm not trying to get people to say this isn't a suicide song, although it sounds like it, because what happens in the course of the song, this guy's talking to her. The windows blew open, and then he appeared, being the Grim Reaper, right, saying, 'Don't be afraid. Come on, baby, don't fear the Reaper,' right." Saying it's the Reaper. Don't fear the Reaper. And they go to the window and they jump out to their ultimate demise, and they're in love, and they you know they face the inevitability of death, and the romantic thought of being together forever, right? You die in the same moment, at the same time, in the same way, with the pact that you both made. 40,000 men and women every day. We can be like they are. Come on, baby, right? 40,000 men and women every day, right? And he's talking about people that die, and kill themselves worldwide. Okay. So here's just some of the lyrics. All our times have come here, but now they're gone. Seasons don't fear the reaper, nor do the wind, nor the sun, or the rain. We can be like they are, right? The guy's trying to convince the girl to commit suicide with him, and they can be together forever. Come on, baby, don't fear the reaper. Like, the reaper is the Grim Reaper is death. Baby, take my hand. Don't fear the Reaper. We'll be able to fly. Baby, I'm your man. Valentine is done. Here, but now they're gone. Romeo and Juliet are together in eternity. 40,000 men and women every day, like Romeo and Juliet. 40,000 men and women every day. Redefine happiness. Another 40,000 coming every day. We can be like they are. Come on, baby. Don't fear the Reaper. Love of two is one. Here, but now they're gone. Now he talks about what happened. Those are kind of paraphrasing some guy that's speaking to a girl and trying to convince her to die, obviously. Now here's when it comes into the present, and they're telling you, I guess, what happened. There came a last night of sadness, and it was clear she couldn't go on. Then the door was open and the wind appeared, right? Picture that, the dark night. Boom, the door flies open. The candles blew out and then disappeared. The candles blew, and then disappeared, not blew out. The curtains flew, and then he appeared. Now the Reaper shows up looking at her, looking like the scariest fucking Reaper you can picture in your head. Come on, baby. And she had no fear, and she ran to him, and they started to fly. They looked backward and said goodbye. She had become like they are. She had taken his hand. She had become like they are. Come on, baby, don't fear the Reaper. In other words, she died. They met their demise. She gave in, and she didn't fear the Reaper. That, my friends, is the creepiest song that I know of. That it's all subjective, but for me, I heard that as a kid, and when my dad explained all that, it scared the shit out of me, to be honest with you, more than any fucking Monster Mash or song that you hear on Halloween. And I happened to meet these guys over 20 years ago, and they confirmed. And now, of course, you can just Google it. And I hate to do that. I only do it to confirm my memories, but I just looked it up and it's confirmed. Anyway, I've told that story for years, way before the internet. So I figured I'd answer a question at least with some kind of originality. That's something I didn't gather because of a right click. I gathered it because I grew up telling those stories, and my dad's buddies were nice enough to let us DJ his parties, and it's the soundtrack of my early childhood. Has much classic rock, especially the Blue Oyster Cult. Don't fear the Reaper. Okay, folks, I'll be back actually in about 5 minutes. As soon as I press end, I'm starting another one. And then we got the Jason Gregor show later. Oilers down 2-1. Game 4 is tomorrow, and I'll get to that in my next podcast, which pretty much will be out at the same time of this one. Sorry on the tardiness of this. Carla, I hope I've answered your question. Thank you for listening. If you're downtown St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador, you want to go, check it out. You want to have a beer, you want to have a coffee, check out the bar scene, whatever you want to do. You want to go to George Street. Why wouldn't you start by going to Trinity Pub, TJ's Pub, Rob Roy Confusion, Martini Bar, Greensleeves, and of course, the Bull and Barrel. If you want to have a bite to eat, why not try the Loose Tie? Why not try Blue on Water? And of course, Wedgwood Cafe, who also do catering. You want balance. You want strength for the body and the mind. Why not go? Ryan Power at Power Conditioning. There's 2 locations. Mr. Lube right here, St. John's. One's on Kenmount Road, one's on Torbay Road. Live, laugh, lube! GS Construction. Laying the groundwork for your community. Mostly out west. A lot of Newfoundlanders out west as well. If you're listening to this and you need construction in your life, check out GS Construction, located in Edmonton, Alberta. Crown Cabinets. Just fucking check it out. The best goddamn cabinet place I know of. Right here in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador. Mugsy Jeans. I loves me Mugsy Jeans. They're so comfortable. They're so stretchy. They're fucking awesome. True hockey. Take what's yours. I'll be back in just a couple of days. Just a couple of minutes, technically. More Tales with Tiara. Thanks for listening. Talk soon.